What's up, folks? So, this here is a video that I've wanted to make for quite a while now. Um, and honestly, this is what started it all. Craftsman sockets. Um, so you got this here. Shit, I've probably had this thing going on 15, 16 years now. Craftsman, 21 millimeter, 12 point, chrome. As you can see, the chrome is actually starting to flake off. Like, yeah, it just started on the edge, and it just keeps going down the socket. You know, I keep grabbing this socket. Well, I don't keep grabbing this socket anymore because I've actually taken this socket out of my socket drawer, and I replaced it with a new Craftsman 21 millimeter 12 point socket, half-inch drive. But at the time, I was getting sick of grabbing this socket because 21 is something I use quite often, and honestly, sometimes I'll have two 21s out and I'll grab a 12 point. But yeah, I got sick of putting this on my ratchet and catching my finger on this chrome. So I said, you know what? This is like one of the few that I have that's doing that. I'm going to bring this back to Lowe's. I'm going to exchange it for a new one. And right out of the box, I brought this old one in. I walk into the store, walk over to the Craftsman display, rummage through the terribly organized bins, and finally find a chrome half-inch drive, 12 point, 21 millimeter shallow. Pick it up with the little plastic tag that's in the back of them, and almost immediately holding them next to each other, I was like, there's something different about it, you know. Obviously, the fact that this old one is made in the USA and this new one is not stamped made in the USA, so I'm going to guess that this is made overseas. So I got to thinking, and I was like, hang on, it feels like it's smaller, like physically smaller. So I said, you know what, for the, I don't know, $7 it cost maybe, I'm going to buy the new one. I'm going to keep the old one. And I brought it back to the shop, and I threw a set of calipers on it. And the new one mic'd out at 1.097 OD. And the old one mic'd out at 1.120. So instantly that was the outside diameter difference that I felt in the store. And I don't know if there's a technical way to measure across, but if you measure from the point, the valley, I would say, of one of the 12 points to the outside of the socket, you're going to get a wall thickness of 0.08. You do that on the new one, and you're going to get a wall thickness of 0.068. So you just exchanged your USA made Craftsman 12 point socket. Bye bye, Lowe's takes that. You get a new Craftsman socket, which I would venture out, and I'm not any sort of metal guru or engineer, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that when that wall thickness at the thinnest point in your socket thins out from what thin already used to be, that's a weaker socket. And this is exactly why I decided I wanted to start phasing out all of my Craftsman sockets, because if they go the route of this one and I have to exchange them for this one, I'm not going to be a happy camper when I start splitting those sockets, and I never used to. And I got a digital scale here just for reference. The old USA made 3.3 ounces, and the new non-USA made 3.1 ounces. And from what I can tell, all that weight came out literally in the wall thickness. And you can kind of see, like, it might be a little difficult to see, but it's visibly thinner. And it really sucks because I grew up on Craftsman. Like, these old ratchets, these 36 tooth, monstrosities of a ratchet. This is what I used to turn every nut and bolt for probably the first, 10 years of me screwing with automotive crap. Like, that right there used to be my go-to ratchet. Here's a newer one. This is not USA made. This is some, special gunmetal chrome model or something like that. Finer tooth count, but ultimately that was a great ratchet, and I would be hard pressed to see anything Craftsman makes nowadays be better than the older stuff. And it really sucks because, like, take this Craftsman wrench right here. I believe these were Craftsman Crossforce ratcheting reversible wrenches. There's I believe a 15-degree offset, or maybe a little bit more. You can see that the shaft on this thing, though, this has got some meat to it. This is another heavy wrench. I did a video comparing Snap-on, a Right tool, and a Craftsman and gear wrench ratcheting wrenches. This is a chunk of metal. Like, when I used to put these on a fastener and you go to yarn on it, because it's got the widest part of the flat where you're actually putting pressure, and that's what I loved about these wrenches so much, is that it just felt great in your hands when you're really getting into something. They don't make those anymore, and I guess they just didn't take off. You can still find a couple of the non-ratcheting sets in stores. I've found them at Ace Hardware or something, and I don't know if it's old stock or if they're still making them, because Craftsman's website's absolutely terrible. But the only thing I could find, seeing that they don't warranty these anymore, I have a half inch one, or maybe a 13 millimeter in the set that the ratcheting end's broken on, and it just free spins, and I would love to be able to replace it. But the only thing that I found that's anywhere near comparable, or that same style, is what I believe Gear Wrench calls their X-beam wrenches. So you can see that physically the gear wrench is a little bit longer, so that's cool. But I actually got one of these out of the package, and it bent. It curved. Like, it was pre-bent out of the package, brand new. And I was like, there's no way in hell my Craftsman one ever would have bent. Is that even possible? And then I started looking at it, and this right here being longer, you can physically tell it's lighter because there's that much less material in it. You can see where that beam, come on, focus, there we go. You can see where that beam is super thin on that gear wrench compared to that Craftsman. That was a quality product, unfortunately, gone by the wayside. And this is what I have to replace it. And honestly, I haven't even used these gear wrench X-Force wrenches or whatever they are since I've gotten them, because I dislike them and the way that they feel in your hand so much compared to that old Craftsman. But that's just my 2 cents. Craftsman is seeming to fall by the wayside as they pull their stuff from USA made and send it overseas. That socket and the wall thickness, that was quite literally the breaking point where I decided I should probably start phasing out the Craftsman stuff, because if I don't, I'm going to be stuck with a bunch of less quality, or I don't know, more inferior sockets every time I go to replace one, which I haven't had to replace many of them, 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters, but camera definitely ran out of room on the SD card. But like I was saying, I don't want to replace my USA made Craftsman sockets with something that is, less quality. I think, honestly, the old Craftsman sockets, I've replaced like 10 of them, maybe, in my lifetime. And it's funny because I've seen them go through quite the amount of changes. I mean, this is your standard older, I don't know what year designation G2 is, but at one point in time they tried getting away from the stamping, or the etch. I guess that would be stamping. They tried getting away from that, and they started going to solely laser etched designations on the sockets, and I believe that they quickly realized this was actually a terrible idea. Some people love these things. If you've got one that you use enough, this etching will eventually disappear. So you saw them shortly thereafter. They came out with that, where there was no other stamping on it, and you, like, once that wears off, you can't tell what socket that is to begin with. They then switched to laser etching as well as marking it with a stamping. So it was pretty cool to follow the progression of the brand and how they were trying to, spice it up a little bit. But unfortunately, if this is what you're going to get present day, I'm not really interested. Sorry, Craftsman. So something I didn't touch on in the video when I was at the shop, and I felt like I needed to, because it does also play heavily into why I've made the choice to phase out Craftsman stuff. So the warranty process. Back when Sears owned Craftsman, it was real simple. You bring in the part, set it on the counter, grab a new one off the shelf. You were pretty much guaranteed, if you bought this at Sears, which that was the only place to buy them, they would have that at Sears. They might be out of stock. You might have to wait at that point in time. But for the most part, you grab one off the shelf, put it on the counter, even exchange, out the door you go. No big deal. I bought this Craftsman ratchet at a garage sale once. The ratchet mechanism was just free spinning. Brought it to Sears. This is, I'm not sure what year frame, what year this thing was made, but it was not a present day ratchet when I bought it at that garage sale. Walked into Sears, put it on the counter, and I was like, I don't know how you guys go about warrantying something old like this. Obviously, it's not on the shelf. The dude reaches underneath the counter, opens a drawer, pulls out this exact same ratchet, already rebuilt, puts it on the counter, takes my old one, exchanges it, out I go. Real simple. As long as you bought the tool, or they had the tool at Sears, which, like I said, the only place to get Craftsman at the time was Sears. So if I bought this tamper-proof Torx bit, it came from Sears. I absolutely can walk back into Sears and get that exchanged, no problem. Nowadays, if I walked into Lowe's or Napa or Ace Hardware, put that on the counter, they'd sit there and scratch their head like, what do I do with this? My guess would be the only thing that they're going to have to offer you is something that is similar in comparison. So it would have to be a 3/8 drive, roughly 8-inch long handle, ratchet, whatever they've got. So cool if you just need a new tool. Sucks if you kind of want to keep this thing alive, This tamper-proof Torx bit, I can tell you for sure that rummaging through the disarray that is Lowe's Craftsman selection, like single-piece Craftsman selection. So obviously they have full sets that are hanging on the shelf and that you can purchase. But if you want to warranty something, I do not believe that they cut open a brand new set and warranty an item. I haven't tried that, but my guess would be they're not going to cut open a brand new set. They are going to send whatever it is to Craftsman or put in an order for a replacement if they currently still make it. So I can tell you right now, this tamper-proof Torx bit, they do not sell single tamper-proof Torx bits at Lowe's. I don't know if they do at Ace or Napa, but it's a crapshoot. So my guess is if I ever break this tamper-proof T30, my guess would be that I'm going to have to go to wherever. They're going to have to order it for me if Craftsman still makes this. Craftsman's website, like I said, is a complete shit show, if you ask me, to find things. And one thing I noticed is when I was on there not that long ago, maybe 2 months ago, they don't have half of the products that I own in Craftsman physically. Like, I own it. I own this tamper-proof Torx bit. It is in my hand. They don't have this on the website. You can't find that on the website. You can't find that Allen key specifically, that Allen socket on the website. At least you couldn't. I don't know if they've updated things since then. But So I have no idea if they make that anymore. If they don't make that anymore, then the warranty on that is pointless, because they're not going to replace it with anything that is equivalent, because they don't have it. You go look at Lowe's or Ace. Napa is not the exact same, because Napa, I feel like Napa has a very smaller selection of Craftsman tools to begin with, and they do not, from what I understand, at least in the ones near me, have any single pieces really. You're just going to be able to buy Craftsman tools in sets or packages at Napa, from what I've seen. So the selection at Lowe's is completely jumbled together. I made a reel or a story the other day of I pulled a 24 millimeter combination wrench out of the spot that it's supposed to be in, and I went over to the SAE, and I also pulled a 24 millimeter wrench out of the 1-inch slot where the 1-inch wrenches are supposed to be. You go down to like the 18s, and there was ratcheting wrenches mixed in with full polish wrenches, mixed in with raised panel wrenches. It's just a disaster. And it never used to be like that at Sears, and it was very easy to find what you were looking for when you were looking for it. Now it's like an Easter egg hunt. It's quite annoying, whereas it used to be a very simple process. Ace, one thing I've noticed is I've tried to warranty 12-point sockets before, like the 21 millimeter that I showed earlier in the video. It took me to find a 12-point 21 millimeter socket. It took me like 3 Lowe's. Predominantly the sockets, as far as like chrome stuff goes, at Lowe's, I believe is 12-point. It's one or the other. Lowe's is like heavy 12-point and light on 6-point, or vice versa. The other thing I've seen is when you go to Ace Hardware, if you look at a socket hanging on a peg, they will have an old part number socket, so it's like old stock. So if you see, for the longest time, all Craftsman part numbers were 5 digits. So this ratchet, 44994. This tamper-proof Torx bit is, I don't know if you can see that or not, 42619. Present day part numbers, when they went away from the USA made stuff, present day part numbers have a string of letters, so it's like CHH something, and then a string of digits. Like you go to Ace Hardware, you look at the peg for an 18 millimeter socket. The first one you pull off is a 5-digit part number. It's old stock. The next one in the row is a new part number. It's new stock. Take the next one off, it's another old stock one. The crapshoot of what is available and where is insane. Like, there's no standardizing to what Craftsman stores are required to stock or have or whatnot. And that makes it very hard to go warranty something, because now I've just drove all over God's green earth for one socket that costs $7 now. And I still don't have a replacement because no one has, let's say, a 12-point 18mm socket in stock. It's just a pain in the ass that it doesn't need to be. And that right there, the whole selling factor behind the price point of Craftsman tools and that lifetime warranty was that I can literally go to Sears, where I bought the tool, hand it to them broken, they hand me a new one. I don't have to jump through hoops. I don't have to drive around for 4 hours on my Saturday. It's no longer worth the money because the service and the warranty now is so up in the air and hit or miss. So that's another big reason in my decision to phase out Craftsman.